Hello, everyone. My name is Paola Torres, and today we'll be talking about Candida auris fungus. So, COVID 19 inspired me to focus on this emergent threat because now more than ever, we're aware of our interactions with germs and how they can change our livelihoods. So, our society has highly evolved, and we tend to forget that a decade ago, people would die from a simple ear infection, a scratch, or a bite. And the development of antibiotics not only provided us an efficient way to fight these slow and painful deaths, but also increased life expectancy. So, unfortunately, our heavy dependence on these medications is causing bacterial resistance and putting communities worldwide at risk. So before we dive in, we have to see the big picture and see that we are constantly interacting with germs and that our consumption patterns and interactions have facilitated germ transmission. As we saw with COVID 19, air travel was one of the main culprits in this pandemic. So, our means of transportation, our food choices, agriculture production are all ways in which our bodies can be exposed and colonized to these drug resistant bugs. So, drug resistance forms from the excess use of medications and the reality that even when we use medications appropriately, not all germs die. So, some survive, they replicate, and that's how resistance grows. Additionally, not all people that are sick are are symptomatic. So, some are asymptomatic and could transmit these bugs without even knowing it. Additionally, in the US, we tend to overprescribe medications. The CDC estimates that 30% of prescribed antibiotics are not needed at all. This means that 47 million excess prescriptions are being sold in the US. And sadly, in many places outside of the US, like in Mexico, you don't even need a prescription for many drugs, which can lead people to self prescribe and abuse these drugs. So, overprescribing antibiotics in the US specifically stems from our capitalistic society. So, the global profit of drugs, the market is currently estimated at $40 billion. So, it's a very lucrative business globally. So Candida auris is a species of fungus that grows as a yeast. This fungus can severely sicken and sometimes kill patients as it enters the bloodstream and spreads throughout the body. In recent years, it has mysteriously emerged around the world, largely in hospital and nursing homes. And it was first identified in the ear of a woman in Japan in 2009. And since then, the germ has continuously spread. In the US, there has been nearly 600 cases reported, mostly in the East Coast in Illinois, New Jersey, and New York. And common symptoms for this fungus include persistent fever and chills that don't go away even after medication or treatment. So, this fungus is dangerous because some strains are resistant to all three major classes of antifungal drugs. According to the CDC, 90% of C. auris infections are resistant to at least one drug, and 30% are resistant to at least two drugs. Additionally, this fungus is difficult to identify as standard laboratory methods lack specific technology, and consequently, that leads to misidentification, which can lead to inappropriate management and continuous outbreaks. Additionally, the CDC reports that nearly half the patients who contract this fungus die within 90 days. So there's high mortality rate, meaning that 1 in 3 patients dies. Additionally, one hallmark of this fungus is that it can be very difficult to clean from the equipment or clothing, and it persists in the environment and can be easily transmitted through air. Officials suspect that spores can be shaken loose from bedding or other equipment that infected individuals touch, and these spores can cling to walls and ceiling tiles. So, who is at risk? The CDC identifies hospitals and nursing homes as high risk setting where infection remains prevalent. Most infected people are already ill, or they have compromised immune systems, like the elderly and children, or have comorbidities, which increases their risk of dying. So, how do we protect ourselves? We have to depend on hospitals and nursing homes to have established protocols and rigorous requirements whenever they're admitting patients that they increase the screening of patients that are believed to be at risk so that they can quickly identify and isolate them. Additionally, we want to increase lab capacity and expertise to handle on-site testing because currently commercially available laboratory tests used in these clinical settings fail to identify the fungus. And lastly, we want to increase cleaning and disinfecting practices that are focused on fungal resistance. So this means teaching staff, increasing awareness, and letting staff know how to safely handle infected patients and their belongings. So why is it that we don't hear about this emerging threat? The reason is that it is often hard to gather details about the path of C. auris since it is very new. And hospitals and nursing homes have been previously and currently unwilling to publicly disclose outbreaks or discuss cases, which create a culture of secrecy around infection. So hospitals and nursing homes have no obligation to inform the public when bacterial outbreaks occur. In contrast, restaurants like Chipotle, whenever they had their E. coli outbreak, this news was all over the place. So hospitals and nursing homes don't have this responsibility, and generally healthcare institutions have said that they don't want to worry the public, and this is why they want to keep it more secretive, because they don't want to cause panic, and they don't want to have people worry unnecessarily when they're taking the appropriate precautions to deal with this fungus. So why is this important? Because the WHO has declared that antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, is one of the top 10 global public health threats facing humanity. So the misuse and overuse of antimicrobials are the main drivers of development of drug-resistant pathogens. So if we think a generation from now, in the year 2050, the CDC estimates that there will be more bacterial-related deaths than cancer and other leading causes of death. So we also have to think of the costs of AMR, which are very significant. Beyond death and disability is prolonged illness, which results in longer hospital stays, the need for more expensive medicines, more staffing, and the financial challenges that those that are in fact impacted will face. So without effective antimicrobials, the success of modern medicine is threatened. So we need a unified approach to deal with this problem. So we want to consider the concept of One Health when addressing this emerging threat. So One Health is the idea that the health of people is connected to the health of animals in our shared environment. So resistant germs often spread through our shared environment. If we think of the Earth's population as it continues to grow, our connection with animals and the environment changes and increases. For instance, people live closer together, we travel more often, and overall we alter the environment due to our needs to survive. So all of these changes can make it easier for diseases to spread between animals and people. And we therefore need stronger partnerships and communications between experts in animal, human, and environmental health to address this problem. Lastly, here are a few references that were used for this PowerPoint. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your time.